You just tapped Buy Now, Pay Later and felt something you didn't want to name. That little flutter. Not quite guilt, not quite fear, just a whisper that you ignored because the thing was already in your cart and walking away felt worse than whatever comes later. You've done this before. Last month it was the shoes. Before that, the gadget you convinced yourself was an investment. Yesterday it was something you can't even remember, just the 4 payments of $37.50 auto-drafting from an account you're already mentally stretching to cover. You know all the dates. 1st and 15th, the 22nd, the 8th. Your calendar isn't tracking your life anymore. It's tracking when money you haven't earned yet disappears. And here's what's actually happening in your mind when you see those 4 little payments instead of one full price. Relief. Immediate chemical relief, because $140 feels like a decision, but $35? That's barely a latte and a sandwich, that's nothing. Except you've said that 17 times this month, and nothing multiplied by 17 is the reason you transferred money from savings again. The savings you promised yourself you wouldn't touch. The savings that used to have a number you were proud of and now has a number you don't say out loud. You're not alone in this. There are millions of people right now looking at their phone, seeing a payment notification and feeling their stomach drop because they forgot. They genuinely forgot this was coming. How do you forget money leaving your account? Because it's not just one thing anymore. It's the bike, the couch, the dental work, the laptop, the vacation you deserved, the mattress, the courses you didn't finish, the subscription boxes. It's 37 different future versions of you all demanding payment at the same time, and present you is the one holding the bag. And the thing is, you're smart. You read the terms, you know what you're doing. You told yourself you'd pay it off early. You told yourself this was different, this was planned, this was controlled. But let me ask you something. How many of those 4 payment plans have you actually paid off early? How many times have you logged in with the intention of clearing the balance and instead just let it ride? Because that's future you's problem. Future you has it handled. Future you makes better decisions. Except future you keeps becoming present you, and present you keeps being broke. 3 years ago, you made more money than you do now, but somehow you had more left over. How is that possible? You got the raise, you got the better job. You cut back on the obvious stuff. You stopped going out as much. You meal prep sometimes. You're trying. God, you're trying. But every month ends the same way. Math that doesn't math. Money that evaporated. A vague sense that you're being responsible while somehow always being behind. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you know what's happening. You're not stupid. You can see the pattern. It's just that seeing the pattern and breaking the pattern are 2 catastrophically different things. Because breaking it means saying no. Not no for now, not no until next paycheck, just no. And you've forgotten how to say no to yourself. Or maybe you never learned. Maybe every message you ever absorbed about money was actually just teaching you how to say yes, but later. Buy now, pay later. That's not a payment method. That's a philosophy. That's how you've been living your entire financial life. Buy the lifestyle now, pay for it later. Buy the comfort now, figure it out later. Buy the image now, deal with the reality later. And later has arrived. It arrived 6 months ago. It's been standing in your kitchen every morning when you make coffee, asking when you're going to deal with this. But here's what nobody tells you about buy now, pay later. And I mean the real thing nobody tells you. It's not about the money. It's never been about the money. You're not buying products. You're buying the feeling of not having to wait. You're buying the sensation of being someone who can just get things. You're buying 30 seconds of being the person you wish you were instead of the person your bank account says you are. And those 30 seconds cost you 30 days of anxiety. But in the moment, the trade feels worth it. In the moment, the future is theoretical and the dopamine is real. The companies know this. They've spent millions studying the exact psychological point where your resistance breaks. They know that $600 makes you hesitate, but $150 4 times doesn't even feel like a decision. They know that affirm sounds more positive than debt. They know that seeing pay over time makes you feel like you're being given something instead of being sold something. They've gamified your own impulse control and turned it into a profit center. And this is where everything you thought you knew about money breaks. You think the problem is that you don't make enough. That's not the problem. There are people making $40,000 who are building wealth, and people making $140,000 who are drowning. You think the problem is that you're not disciplined enough. Also not the problem. Discipline is what you use to force yourself to do things you don't want to do. The people who win with money don't need discipline. They need something else entirely. They've built a different relationship with the word later. See, every time you say buy now, pay later, you're making a bet. You're betting that future you will have more resources, more willpower, more clarity than present you. You're betting that somehow, magically, the version of you that exists 4 weeks from now will be more capable of handling this payment than you are of handling the full price today. And that bet almost never pays off, because future you doesn't have more resources. Future you has the same resources plus the payment you just committed to. You're not borrowing from your future income, you're borrowing from your future capacity to handle life. And here's what that actually costs you. It's not the interest, though the interest is real. It's not even the payments, though the payments add up. What it costs you is options. Every payment plan you're locked into is a decision you can't make later. It's the ability to quit the job you hate. It's the ability to take a month off when you're burnt out. It's the ability to move when the opportunity comes. It's the ability to say no when you need to. You think you're buying freedom, the freedom to have things now, but what you're actually buying is a very specific kind of prison. A prison made of $37 payments that seem like nothing, but collectively mean everything you do for the next 6 months is already decided. I know someone who made $180,000 a year and broke down crying in their car because they couldn't afford a $1,200 emergency vet bill. Not because they didn't have income, because every dollar they made already had a name on it before it arrived. They had committed their entire financial future in little pieces, and those little pieces had grown into a cage. The car, the couch, the renovations, the wardrobe, the tech, the experiences, all of it on payment plans, all of it barely noticed when they clicked agree, all of it suffocating them now. They weren't irresponsible. They were doing what everyone said was smart. They were managing cash flow. They were maximizing liquidity. They were using interest-free financing. They were speaking the language of financial sophistication while living the reality of financial chaos. And the thing they realized sitting in that car with their dog in the backseat was that they had never actually asked themselves what they were building toward. They had just been buying the next thing, then the next thing, then the next thing. Each purchase justified in isolation, none of them adding up to anything that mattered. They were spending money they hadn't earned yet on things they didn't need to impress people they didn't like while building a life they were desperately trying to escape. That moment of realization, that's available to you right now. You don't have to wait for the breakdown. You can choose to see it now. Here's what actually changes things. It's not a budget. Budgets don't fail because of math. They fail because you're trying to fit your real self into a fictional version of who you think you should be. You build a budget that says you're the kind of person who spends $200 on groceries and never buys coffee out and goes to bed at 10 p.m. But you're not that person. You're the person who's exhausted on Thursday and buys dinner. You're the person who needs the coffee because you didn't sleep. You're the person with a real life that doesn't fit into the spreadsheet. What changes things is asking a different question. Not can I afford the payments, but what is this costing me in freedom? Every single thing you own or owe is claiming a piece of your future time. The question isn't whether you can technically make the payment. The question is whether this thing is worth the hours of your life you'll trade to pay for it. And I don't mean the sticker price divided by your hourly wage. I mean the actual cost. The mental energy of tracking it, the anxiety of making sure it's paid, the opportunity cost of what you can't do because this money is already spoken for. Most of what you buy fails this test.
Most of what you buy isn't worth 1 hour of your life, let alone the 40 or 60 or 100 hours it actually costs. The people who build wealth, actual wealth, not just income but freedom, they understand something about time that you're still learning. They understand that money is just stored life. It's hours you already lived converted into something you can use later. And every time you commit future money, you're spending life you haven't lived yet. You're putting tomorrow's hours on a credit card and hoping you'll be willing to work them when the bill comes. But here's the part that's going to bother you. You keep making the same bet and losing, but you keep playing. Why? Why do you keep hitting buy now, pay later when you know this story ends, when you've lived it 6 times already this year, when you're currently living it right now?
Because the alternative is feeling the no, feeling the limitation, feeling the gap between who you are and who you're pretending to be. And that feeling is so uncomfortable that you'll pay almost anything to avoid it, including your future. This is the real trap, not the payment plan. The trap is that you've built an identity around being someone who can have things, and saying no threatens that identity. You've told yourself a story about who you are, and that story requires props. It requires the right apartment and the right furniture and the right wardrobe and the right tech and the right experiences. And you can't afford the props, so you finance the props. And now you're paying for the costume of a life instead of building an actual life. Let me tell you what happens if you keep going. 5 years from now, you'll make more money, maybe a lot more, and you'll still be broke because your spending will have grown to match your income. It always does. There's a term for this, lifestyle inflation, but that makes it sound economic. What it actually is, you're still that same person who couldn't say no, except now the things you can't say no to cost more. You'll be older, more tired, more resentful, still clicking buy now, pay later, still telling yourself next month will be different, still carrying this low-grade anxiety everywhere you go, still checking your bank account before you buy lunch, still avoiding looking at the full balance of what you owe because seeing it all in one place makes it real and you're not ready for it to be real. Or here's the other path, the one that requires you to sit in the discomfort instead of buying your way out of it. You stop. Not gradually, not next month, you stop. You take everything currently on a payment plan and you write it down. All of it. Every auto pay, every installment, every subscription, everything. You look at the number, the real number, the number that makes you feel sick, and you sit with that feeling instead of immediately trying to fix it or justify it or explain it away. Then you ask yourself one question. What do I actually want? Not what do you want to buy, not what do you want to have, what do you want your life to feel like? Because right now it feels like this. It feels like Sunday night dread and Friday afternoon relief and constant low-level panic about money. It feels like a treadmill. It feels like you're doing everything right and still losing. What do you want it to feel like instead? And here's the uncomfortable part. Getting there requires becoming someone you're not right now. It requires being the person who feels the impulse to buy and doesn't, who sees the 4 easy payments and walks away, who sits with wanting something and chooses to keep wanting it instead of having it. That person feels weird to you right now. That person feels like deprivation and restriction and missing out. But that person sleeps through the night. That person doesn't panic when the car makes a noise. That person can say yes to things that matter because they said no to things that don't. That person has options. That person is free in ways you've forgotten freedom exists. You can't buy your way to that person. You have to build your way there, one no at a time, one payment plan you don't sign up for, one thing you want and don't get, one moment of discomfort you sit through instead of swipe away. And the thing is, you know this already. You've known it for a while. Every time you tap buy now, pay later, there's a part of you that knows. You're not lacking information. You're lacking the willingness to be uncomfortable.
You're lacking the courage to be the person with less now so you can be the person with more later. And later isn't coming to save you. Later is just now arrived. You've been waiting for the version of yourself that has it figured out, but that version doesn't exist. There's only you right now choosing. Always choosing. The question isn't whether this is hard. It is. The question isn't whether it's fair that it's this hard. It's not. The question is, what are you going to do? You can close this video and nothing changes. Tomorrow you'll see something you want and you'll have the same conversation with yourself and you'll probably make the same choice. And in 6 months, you'll be here again, feeling the same way, stuck in the same place, wondering why you can't get ahead. Or you can decide that this is the moment, not when you have more willpower, not when you make more money, not when it's easier. Now, when it's hard, when you're tired, when the deck is stacked. Now, because now is the only time you ever actually have. How much of your future are you willing to trade for comfort right now? How many years of Sunday night dread is that thing in your cart actually worth? What do you want badly enough to feel the discomfort of not buying your way out of? Nobody's coming to fix this for you. Your move.